going to work slightly differently. We've only got one motion, but the second part of council is going to be used to go through a big conversation that Alex is going to lead. So when we get to that, I'll explain how that's going to work. In the meantime, we have one motion, it's a constitutional motion, a couple of elections, and then the usual set of reports and things like that. So if everybody who has a vote, all of the voting members of council, is everybody that has a vote on the VVox for voting, the details are on the board, please do not sign into that if you are not a voting member of council. If you're not sure, pop your hand up and someone will come and help you. Okay. So that looks pretty much like everyone's good. Has anyone got a problem with the voting system, or is that okay? Good. Okay. So there were no objections for the minutes of the previous meeting, was that right? Yep, so no objections to the minutes of the previous meeting. So if does anybody have an objection? So these are more corrections, they're clarifications. So if you think anything on the previous minutes was wrong, you can correct that. You can't object to the actual content of the minutes. So is everybody okay? No objections? Okay, so those minutes are accepted. So now we'll move on to the election of vacant councillor positions. So up for grabs, we have one open place. So an open place to council is a place that gets you a vote at every council for the academic year. If you don't intend on coming to every council the academic year, you should sign up for casual places, which are just for one specific council. We also have up for election 2 officer positions, so the student, parents, guardians, and carers officer, and the marginalised genders officer, both of which are liberation officer roles and require any nominees to be a member of the given marginalised group. So we'll move on to elections for open place. So as I said, open places get you a vote at every council, and we do expect that you attend as many of them as you can. If you miss 2 in a row, the open place will be taken and open back up for re-nomination. So would anybody like to nominate themselves for an open place to council? Please come to the front and give your name to Connor. So anyone would like a vote at council? Yeah, would you like to come forward? More than one person can come forward. If you want to come forward over there, you can do. No. Anybody else would like an open place at council? Okay. Last call. Yep. Come forward, yeah. So if you just want to wait behind the podium, that'd be great. Thank you. Anyone else? Fab. Okay, so as we've had more than one nomination, it will have to go to a vote. So what we'll do is do you need time to get that set up? Do the speech. Okay, so I'll invite you guys one at a time to just introduce yourself. So just say what your name is, what you study, and why you want to be a counsellor. So would you like to come forward first?
Hello, I'm Mukilan Suresh. I'm a second year PhD student, so I'm part of the teacher community. And I'm currently between the Department of Computer Science and School of Natural and Environmental Sciences. And I want to be in the open place for voting in the sense because I'm also part of the team of scrutiny for this year. And there are many of the matters which is kind of discussed, and I assume that there will be, in the sense, scrutiny by default would have an voting place, but that's not the case. So it would kind of like push into the agenda also to kind of move the council and the motions with proper democracy, that if a voting place would be available for me. So that's exactly why I'm putting my name forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hello, I'm James Geary. I'm an undergraduate maths and stats student in second year. I run SOC. That doesn't mean very much to you lot. And I'm also on the maths staff student committee. I wanted to take the position just basically to add an additional voice in, more from the side of undergrads, and especially, I know from my course particularly, there aren't many people that will make a step into student council, especially undergrad level, so just thought might be more helpful to have a wider range of voices.
Thank you very much. Okay. Hello. Scrutiny don't get any voting places now. So just bear with us a couple of minutes. We're just going to set up the vote. You guys are welcome to take your seats just in the meantime. Feel free to talk among yourselves. You know, there's nothing worse than painful silence, and I'll let you know when we've got the vote ready. So is this You take your seats. The vote is now ready. So it will be an online vote. It is only available to councillors and people with voting places. So if you don't have a voting place, please do not vote. So we'll open the voting now, and it will close when the fancy music has finished. So yeah, please cast your votes. If you have any problems, pop up your hand. Sorry guys, just a little technical issue. Wait a second. Right, you should be good to vote now, guys. Is everybody able to vote at least? Yeah? Okay, if anyone has any technical problems, pop up your hand. You'll have to let me know. Is anybody having a problem casting their vote? Okay, guys, so that vote is now closed. We're having a couple of technical issues. You may be able to see the result on your device where you voted.
No, you can't.
No, you can't. Okay. You'll have to let me know, Connor. New clan. So congratulations to New Clan. You're duly elected as a councillor. That's great. Yeah, so you're welcome to pop to the back now and get that if you'd like to. So if you just go and see Laura, she'll give you the code. Okay, so we'll now move on to the next vacant position. So this is Student, Parents, Guardians and Carers Officer. So in order to nominate yourself for this, you do have to be a parent, a guardian or a carer. And this is a Liberation Officer role. So this is one of the officer roles at NUSU, and it's basically to represent the people represented within that marginalised group. So would anybody like to nominate themselves for this role? If you could pop your hand up if you're interested. No? Okay, fantastic. So we will move on, and we will quickly look at the marginalised genders officer role. So in order to put yourself forward for this role, you do have to be a self-identified member of a marginalised gender, and it is again a liberation officer role. So it involves representing those included in that group. Connor, I can't see the PowerPoint anymore. Okay. So would anybody like to put themselves forward for the marginalised gender officer? Okay. Anyone? No. Okay, great. So we will move on then. So the next item on the order paper is the steering committee report. Any objections to that? Nope, so no objections were received to the steering committee report before council, so that is passed. Next is the Scrutiny Committee and Disciplinary Committee report. That was received and it was distributed by email slightly after the main order paper, but it has been received. No objections were received before council, so that has also passed. And I'll now invite the President of NUSU to present the State of the Union report.
Thank you very much. So just for everyone who's new here, just want to explain what the State of the Union is. So it's just an update of the key highlights from the sabbatical officer team and from NUSU and what we've been doing, and it's a report provided to each council. In terms of the sabbatical team, I'm the President, Yassine. Education Officer is Lulu. Postgrad Officer is Chirag. Welfare and Equalities Officer is Lucy. Activities Officer is Alex. Athletic Union Officer is Kimiko. And the Student Media Officer is Gabby. So I'm just going to give a key overview of some of the key things we've done since last council. So some of the stuff I've been working on is I've met with local MPs alongside the other SABs to discuss key issues affecting students, such as housing and cost of living. I've also worked to see if we can get the radio platform adopted by NUSU so that students can hold their landlords to account and it can increase the amount of transparency. And I've been meeting with law firms with the aim of trying to secure legal support for the Student Advice Centre so that we can support more students. In terms of what Lulu's been up to, she's been chairing the APP Student Collaborative Group. She's had ongoing meetings with heads of schools and the Dean of Faculty and Education to investigate how they can improve assessment feedback. And she's been working with the other SABs to keep PECs for cost of living as a reason to get a PEC. Lucy's officially opened the LGBTQ+ community safe space, so that's officially been launched and it's now in the Frederick Douglass Centre, and it's open between 9 till 5, Monday to Friday. Lucy's also been on the internal Changing in Cultures group, created to tackle sexual violence and hate crime on campus, and is continuing to lobby the university about concerns around affordable student housing through meeting with the accommodation services and the executive team and the Vice-Chancellor. Kimiko has been liaising with other departments and the universities for the Brit Challenge. She's also been planning the AU Ball and promoting spectating sports and engaging with clubs. Alex has been planning and hosting events for a sustainability campaign, including the Evening Wear Swap Shop on the 15th of November. She's also met with the Disability Service to discuss practitioner assessments for undiagnosed students and accommodations for students with learning disabilities, and is introducing the Grand Summer Ball. So she said to save the date, it's coming out soon, and has begun planning for the Festival of Culture activities, which is hopefully starting in December. Gabby has successfully released the first 2 issues, and she's very proud of those issues and very proud of her team. And NSR has begun recording podcasts, and she's working with the other SABs to keep PECs as the reason for cost of living. So that's the main updates. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. So I'll now give any councillor an opportunity to object to the State of the Union report. If anyone wishes to do that, please raise your hand. Fantastic. So the State of the Union report is accepted. And I'll now invite all of the sabbatical officers to join Yassine at the front. So this section of council is questions and mandates. So this is your opportunity as students to ask your sabbatical officers questions, to get updates on what they've been doing, and to hold them to account. So this is an opportunity for anyone to ask questions if they want to do that, and we'll sort of explain how it works as we go. So just one at a time, if I could ask you to come up and introduce yourselves. So we already know Yassine, who's the president. So Chirag, would you like to come up and just say who you are and what you do?
Hi everyone, I am Chirag Kumar. I am the postgraduate officer.
Hi everyone, I'm Lulu. I'm education officer.
Hi, I'm Lucy. I'm the Welfare and Equality Officer.
Hi, I'm Kimiko. I'm the Athletic Union Officer.
Hi, I'm Alex. I'm the Activities Officer.
I'm Gabby. I'm Student Media Officer.
Thank you, guys. So would anybody like to ask a question to any of the sabbatical officers about anything you want? You can also ask a sort of general question if you don't know who's best to answer it, and one of the SABs will step forward. So would you like to raise your hand if you have a question, if anyone wants to know anything? Yep, so would you like to, can I just get you to stand up just so people can hear you around? Okay. Thank you. So if one of you guys wants to step forward.
So, we've been having discussions with a lot of our students about the situation. Obviously, with our like Jewish society and Muslim societies, we've helped them host vigils, and we're doing our best to support them, and we want them to know that like we're always here to listen to what the students have to say and their opinion. We've been having discussions with the university about how to best handle the situation. Our main focus as a students' union is to provide the support to students and support them with what they want to do. If students wish to voice their support for a ceasefire, we obviously have student council, and students are always open. It's always open for students to submit any motions of anything that they may support for us to be able to recognize that as a student voice body. So if you need any help, if you want to let us know of your opinions and you want to submit a motion about anything that has to do with the situation, please come to us and we will support you in doing so.
Great, thank you. So just as a point of information, that would come to council as an ordinary motion. If you were interested in submitting that, please ask any of the team around at the end and we can help you figure out how to do that. Okay, thank you. Does anybody else have a question for the sabbatical officers? No? Okay, fantastic. Thank you, guys. So that is the end of questions and mandate. You guys can sit down. Any objections to officer reports? Great. So the next section on the order paper is officer reports and executive committee minutes. These pass automatically unless an objection is received before council. An objection was not received, so these pass as a block. And we will now move on to the motions. As I mentioned, there is only one. It's a constitutional motion. So constitutional motions change our constitution inside NUSU, so they change the policies that govern how we work as an organisation. And they require a supermajority, which is 2/3 of councillors, to vote in their favour in order to pass. Chirag, would you like to come up and propose this motion, please? You'll have about 2 minutes.
Good evening, everyone.
Just be careful that tripod's sort of leaning over on the bottom there.
Is it okay? Right. So according to our NUSU constitution, the postgraduate officer does not sit on the committee, but the PG officer has been doing so for the last few years, and it's just an official kind of writing that needs to change, and it just needs to go into the book, because at the moment the PG officer does not sit on the committee that we're trying to change this to. And the second part of this motion is that there are 58 members on the Education Executive Committee, and that is quite a lot, because once you start going through all of them, it is quite a lot of people to get voices and then to get input in. And then we also have the people coming in from council, which is 4 open places. Now, that particular part doesn't get filled, or they're unable to attend. There are several issues regarding that. So we're just decreasing the number of places that can be coming in from council. I believe 58 people is very good for the Education Executive Committee, and it is an appropriate number. So we're just doing 2 bits at the same time, but that is what the motion is.
Okay, fantastic. So if you could just stay there for a second. Does anybody have a question for the proposer? So that is not a speech for or against, that is just if you would like a clarification, any information about the motion itself. No, fantastic. So you're welcome to sit down, Chirag. Thank you. Okay, so I now invite anyone that would like to speak in favour of the motion. So anyone that would like to speak for the motion. Lulu, would you like to come up?
Hi, I support this motion as an education officer because I know our postgraduate students definitely is a really important part of this, our community, our Newcastle University. Surely the PG postgraduate officer should sit on the Education Executive Committee. So I will support this motion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll now invite a speech against the motion if anybody objects to the motion. No? Okay. And we are able to take one more speech for if anyone would like to support the motion. Yeah, would you like to come up?
I would like to support this motion because in the sense, many of the engagement of PGRs and PGTs, especially with the student union, has been quite less. And even when they try to kind of get into the student union, the voices don't get heard that fast and they go away. So it would be quite nice, at least in a constitutional level, that the PGR rep as like a unity of voices in the panel with the education officer, so that the voice of PGRs and PGTs is heard further into the council. So I support this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So final call, would anyone like to speak against this motion? Wonderful. Okay. So I'll invite Chirag, if you would like to, you can present a closing argument. If not, you are welcome to not. No, great. Okay. So we will open that up to a vote. So as I mentioned, it requires a 2/3 supermajority. So we'll open that vote now. Like before, if anyone has an issue with the voting, please put your hand up. Yeah. Okay, guys, so we'll close the vote there. All votes have been cast. Didn't want to subject you to that music unnecessarily. So that vote is now closed. Okay, so that is a 100% pass. So the motion on changing the membership of NUSU Education Executive Committee has passed. Okay, fantastic. So if anyone has a copy of the order paper, that will slightly change things. So the constitutional motion that has just passed affects the elections section. So we will now not be electing 4 places to education executive as a result of the motion that just passed. We will, however, go ahead with the rest of the committee elections. So the first one is, there is 1 place available on scrutiny committee. So the chair of scrutiny is here. If you want to come up and just say a little bit about what scrutiny is, that would be great.
So on the scrutiny committee, we essentially add a layer of transparency to what the SABs do and some of the ongoings within NUSU. We meet once a month-ish and scrutinise minutes from various different meetings. Yeah, it's a nice little time. And we do need more people, so please do come forward if you are thinking about it. And yeah, I'd rather you join and then have to leave if you don't like it. So please do come.
Okay, so we have, as I said, 1 place available for scrutiny committee. That doesn't mean we can't have more. Oh, the order paper said 1, but there are 2. So 2 places available for scrutiny committee. That doesn't mean we can't have more than 2 nominations, but yeah, so that's what's available. If anyone would like to put themselves forward to scrutiny committee, could you pop your hand up, please? Anybody think that that sounds interesting? Okay, yeah, would you like to come forward and just give your details to Connor? Fantastic. Any other takers? Okay, just bear with us a quick second. Okay, anyone else interested in taking a place on scrutiny committee? Fantastic. So I'll just say, does anyone else want to come? Last call for scrutiny committee? Fantastic. Okay, so would you just like to introduce yourself quickly?
Is this work? Wait, I'm assuming it's going to be working. Hiya, my name's Lou. I'm on the student committee and I want to run for scrutiny because I believe in transparency, accountability, and most importantly, having a communication to ensure that our student union runs effectively and efficiently for the interests of its students and people who come in.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Okay, so as there are 2 places available and only 1 nomination, unless there are any objections to the nomination of Lou to scrutiny committee, I should say, that will pass automatically. So does anybody have an objection? Fantastic. So congratulations, you are now a member of the scrutiny committee. Okay, so we have 8, is that the right number? 8 places, yeah. So we have 8 places available for disciplinary committee. So again, I will invite our chair of scrutiny up to just say a couple of words about that.
So the disciplinary will meet as and when, so it's not really a set thing. I've not actually had to chair anything disciplinary, so yeah. Pretty flexible, very low commitment. I would also encourage people to apply for that, and especially scrutiny members as well. I think that's it.
Yeah, thank you. So as I said, we have 8 places, so we have quite a few to fill. Is anybody interested in taking a place on the disciplinary committee? Yeah, so would you just like to come forward and give your names to Connor? Okay. If anybody else would like to nominate themselves, please do come forward. Okay, last call. Anybody like to nominate themselves for disciplinary committee? Fantastic, thank you. Right, so we'll close the nomination there. I know we've already met you, but you just want to come and say why you want to be on disciplinary committee. That'd be great.
Hello, it's me again. I mainly want to also participate in the disciplinary committee. First of all, as part of the team from scrutiny, we are already bound by the confidentiality of that part exactly, and we are already on the council and it's almost there. It kind of like plays into the role of how transparent things are, and we want to keep the whole democratic part of the student union flowing, and I want to extend my scrutiny and also be on the disciplinary panel, which is again comes same under the head of scrutiny, which I'm already part of, so it's just extending it. Thank you.
Fantastic, thank you. And would you like to give your name, your course, and why you want to be in disciplinary, please?
Yeah, I'm Swati. I'm in 3rd year and I study media and communications. I just want to echo everything you've just said. As a active member of the scrutiny committee as well, I think I'd be a valuable member of the disciplinary committee. I know they work hand in hand, so I think my voice would be valued.
Ideal, thank you. So, same story with this one. We have 8 places and 2 nominees. So would anybody object to the appointment of either of these members to disciplinary committee? Okay, fantastic. So you are both duly elected to disciplinary. Okay, and then our final committee available today is the Welfare, Campaigns and Liberation Executive Committee. So I'll invite Lucy to come and introduce that.
Hi, so the Welfare Campaigns and Liberation Committee, I think it's a really good way for you to really get your voice heard. Like, as part of the committee, we all, as well as the liberation officers being a part of this, we've also got Nightline part of it, and it's a really good way to get an idea of what we're all doing. So what I'm doing in welfare, what all the liberation officers and Nightline are doing, but also kind of really voicing your opinion on what things you want changed in the union and the university. And me and Kiara, who's the accessibility and inclusion coordinator, we kind of are there as your support. We can support you in the stuff that you want to lead on, like whether it's that going to meeting with the university, talking with the disability team, or working with our operations team. It's something that we're kind of giving you the support to voice your opinions kind of do your own sort of activism. But yeah.
Great, thank you. Okay, so we have 7 places available on this committee. I'll just point out as well that current Liberation officers already have a place on that committee, so please don't nominate yourselves. Would anybody else, though, like to nominate themselves for a place on this committee? So pop your hand up if you would like to. Yeah, great. So would you like to come forward and just seek honour? Yeah, yourself as well. So anybody else would like to nominate themselves for this committee? Okay, final call, everyone. If you want to pop yourself down for Welfare Campaigns and Liberation Executive, come forward now. Yep. Did you want to come forward? Fantastic, thank you. Any final nominations? Okay, fantastic. So we will close those nominations there. So I'll just invite you guys, if you just tell us your name, your course, and why you want to be on the committee.
Hi, I'm Ella. I'm a second-year biology student, and I'm interested in this because I'm already involved in lots of environmental and some social activism within the university and the Newcastle area in general. I'm co-president of Extinction Rebellion Society, so yeah, I would like to bring that more into NUSU.
Great, thank you.
Hi, I'm Nandi. I'm a third-year biomed student. And yeah, just like you, I'm already kind of involved in terms of like social changes and addressing issues. So I think I'll just like another chance to like, you know, help promote it in NUSU and just kind of promote some change.
Great, thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Sumandeep Kaur. I'm a stage 1 student in law school, and I want to be a part of this committee because I think voice of students should be heard, and we can take this forward if like we can bring new ideas forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so there are 3 nominations and 7 places available, so it will just go open to objection. Does anybody object to the appointment of any of these members? Great, fantastic. So that means all 3 of you are elected to Welfare Campaigns and Liberation Committee. Fantastic. So that is the end of the motions and the elections. So we now have something a bit different. So we have a big conversation, and I'll invite Alex, the activity officer, to come and introduce that.
Hello again, everyone. If you bear with me for a second while I get my laptop on.
I will just reiterate as well, guys, there will be free drinks tokens for Luthers, but you do have to stay until the end of this bit.
In case you needed an incentive. So hello, my name's Alex. I'm your activities officer. Thank you for attending the Student Council and our big conversation. So this conversation is just centered around us getting your point of view as students. We want to know what your experience has been like. We want to know how we can make that experience better. And that's what we're going to then bring to the NUS, which is the National Union of Students. We're going to bring it to their manifesto, which they can then push as a larger organization for students across the country. I'm going to say a few things about NUS now. NUS is your national union representing university and college students across the UK. Together, we achieve national change for students. And as one of the world's largest student movements, NUS is fighting to make education free and lifelong. We believe that education should be accessible and enjoyable for all, and our community of students, educators, activists, and advocates are determined to make it happen. NUS has been behind every big win for students and at the forefront of change on issues affecting people across society, from championing LGBTQ+ rights, pushing to decolonize education, and standing up against powerful corporate interests. As well as fighting, we're here to protect. Students are often the least heard voices, and without our movement, their needs would be ignored. When COVID-19 hit, NUS came together to demand protections for student renters, push for better internet access, and stand up for those experiencing hardship, saving students across the UK a staggering £1 billion. Together, we've been a force for radical change since 1922, and our movement is still going strong. We won't rest until our education system is open to all, champions diversity, and allows every student to thrive. So in short, we want better things for students. And as your sabbatical officers, as part of NUS, we are here to get your opinions. So the first thing I'm going to ask you is, how do you find different parts of student life? And if you could rate them from 1 to 10. For example, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate your student house? To make it a bit more general, we're gonna just ask you, how happy do you feel as a student from 1 to 10? And that is going to be on Vevox.
So sorry guys, just a couple of technical issues. Also, just to clarify, NUSU is a union which you're all members of, unless you've revoked your membership, which doesn't really happen, are automatically members of NUS, because NUSU as an organisation is, so in case you were wondering.
Sorry, George, just to be clear, is this just for voting members of
No,
council?
is this now everyone, Connor?
This is everyone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyone,
if you're a student, you get an opinion.
Anyone can vote on this, not just those council members.
Yeah. What are they doing there?
Yeah, so guys, if you're not councillors, if you don't usually have a vote, you are allowed to participate in this section. So if you go to the back and see Anita or Laura, they can give you the code to be able to sign onto the voting system. Is that working? Yeah. Yes. Cool. If anyone has any technical issues, just pop your hand up. Oh, yeah, sorry.
Is only whole numbers allowed or fractions? Whole numbers, okay.
You'd rate your student experience 7.8.
Asked like a true PGR.
To be fair, I get that. I'd say mine was like, maybe like a 8.1. Pretty good, but it could have been better.
So it's just values. So it's just values.
Yeah, it should be.
Okay.
Yeah, it didn't say actually, but Sabs and Libs, do feel free to vote on this as well.
And you're free to discuss with the person next to you, talk about all the things that you love and hate. Maybe get the inspiration flowing.
Where you want to get people speaking, so you're welcome to take a mic and that will unflip and just walk around.
I was thinking because this one's a 1 to 10 one, so this one's the more difficult, but the next one.
After these bits, so feel free to just grab that mic and go for a wander.
Oh my god, I'm gonna get to.
You can walk around and stuff. I don't mind. That's fine. It should be on
Lovely.
already. It doesn't. The switch doesn't mute it. Give it a bang. Give it a tap. Was that?
I've given up on the PowerPoint. This is just the Vevox view.
Okay, guys. So that's all those votes cast. So let's see how that came across.
And oh no, I was gonna do a drum roll. Wait, can I?
Okay.
Ooh. I'll go closer to that. Right. I'm gonna present this. And here we can see that our average student is actually pretty happy. Good. Lovely. I'm happy for you guys. I'm happy that you're happy. But we do have a little cluster of not so good experiences over there. Well, that is an interesting board of results. We'll keep that up for a second while I ask you the next question. Because this is actually a game show, if you didn't know. So, you've thought about your experience. You've given us a rating. What are the areas that could be improved? Now, before you scream at me, housing, we are aware. Why don't you pop it into that Vevox? And then I'm going to, just to switch things up a little, I'm going to come around and I'm going to ask you what could be improved about your experience.
Why am I first?
Oh God, no, I'm put on the spot. I want to say, like, student support. I know that's hard because everyone's at like different stages of their life, if you're a stage 1 student or if you're a stage 4. But I think just having that open conversation with everyone, because not everyone wants to come forward, not everyone wants to be part of the council and speak. So like reaching out to those smaller groups, people that are less confident.
That's definitely a valid point. And you don't have to say like everyone's on a different stage, because that's the whole point. You know, in university, you're going to have people being completely different stages of their lives. And the point of a university and a students' union is to support that. It is the point to like cater to everybody, because then why do we have students?
I will just ask before Alex violently picks someone else. Does anybody actually have a point they want to say? Does anyone want to contribute? And
Yes,
go
also
across?
that. Because if no one wants, I'm just going to force you. Oh, should I be right? Oh, yeah. You can, if you don't want me to come and put you on the spot, you could just write it on your phone. Please do. And everything you write, we will take into consideration. So, you know, tell us everything that you want to say. It is anonymous. Well, is it? Yeah. It is anonymous. So, you know, if you want to diss the university a little bit, we won't tell.
It's anonymous in the sense that we won't say who you are.
Yes. Ooh, some good points over there.
So I was a COVID student, so I started uni in 2020. I think I've spoken to a lot of people recently, which also started my year, and our whole university experience has been massively impacted because of that first year. And I think everyone knows that it is ridiculous that we paid 9K for online courses, which we basically no one attended. And that has impacted everything in terms of like friendships within your course. So I say zoology, and like everyone that I'm with, oh hey, everyone that I'm mixed with now, thank God I did a year out, so now I've come back. People I'm with are the year below me, they've actually managed to make friendships on our course. But the people that graduated that I know hardly actually met anyone, and that made it a really like isolating experience for everyone. But I know it's hard now because COVID's technically passed, but I think reaching out to those students that had their first year impacted, which is probably the most important year of university, you know, coming into the whole, because it's so funny seeing all the freshers fair and everything that happened this year. Like, I never got any of that, and I'm really jealous of it, and I think so many people actually missed out, so reaching out to those students as well would be good.
Thank you so much. That's great.
I was also a COVID student. I remember my experience of the Freshers' Fair was the Canvas induction, which was like, how do you access your course materials? You know, half the time you'd open a PDF and then you couldn't read what it says because it's like scanned off of some old book. I did archaeology. Wasn't great. No, it was great. I loved the course.
As much as you guys are more than welcome to put something on the board, and lots of you have, thank you especially to whoever said large mixed grill. Please do pop your hand up and say something into the mic if you want to. We're really keen to get people speaking. Leo, would you like to?
Oh, Leo, wait, can I say a fun fact before you do that? The bigger the word, the more people submitted it. So if you see housing really big, that's because a lot of people said it. So fun fact.
I think sort of following off about your point with I'm reading that and thinking about you at the same time, but based on what you were saying about student support, I feel like the people who interact directly with students, like sort of like NUSU staff in the welfare and support center, or like advisors in student health and well-being services, or personal tutors or lecturers, they tend to be quite good. But it's sort of like, sometimes I feel like the highest level of management, the ones who actually get things done, are incredibly out of touch with the student body.
That's great, thank you, Leo. Did anyone else want to say something? Yeah, great. I think housing has now been overtaken, by the way.
Hi. Hi, I'm Sophia. I'm the SNES PGR school rep, and I think I'm my first year, and I've been talking to a lot of second and third years about how they felt. I find that often there's a very blurry line between if we're expected to be a staff or a student, and I think we're both, and I think the definition sometimes would have been nice to have clearer about what is expected of us. Are we supposed to act like a member of staff? Are we a student? You know, and I think that's something that a lot of PGRs would benefit from, with coming in induction and what we're expected to do. And is that fair? So should we have to do all the staff inductions as well as all the student inductions? Should we have ours cut down for the things that are most important and then us specialise if we need to? So yeah, if anybody else would like to comment on that, I'd love to hear your opinion as well.
I'm not a PGR, but the thought of doing a PhD and having to teach others, I want to cry. So, you're brave. I appreciate you. Drag, do you have any comments on that as our postgraduate officer?
Induction has been a very strong topic, basically. We've been having conversations with the university to cut down, and then we see that they want to add more. And then we also ask to add more, and then we ask to cut down. So it's a very fine line, and there is never going to be the right amount of mix. What we know is we just try to make sure you have everything you want and everything you should need. Sometimes things get lost. It's just because there's a lot to compact.
Yeah, also I see there's a few people who've said disability support and awareness, which I agree. So if you have anything specific about that, please talk to me, because the more people who say we have a problem, then the more I can tell people we have a problem, if that makes sense. Like the more people who come up and tell me like, this is what we're having issues for, the more aggressively I can fight for that.
That's great, thank you.
Yeah, I think a lot of what is on the slide at the moment are actually things that the student union has. We talk about housing, actually there's also support. I mean, it's not going to solve everything overnight, but there is support. There's also, I mean, we can't do anything about the Tories. Like, a lot of this thing, I feel is like, you know, there are the officers in place, the disability officer, the education officer, the postgraduate officer. And being one of the liberation officers, what I have to say is we are very conscious that awareness is a big problem. It's like there's a lot of things we need to improve on in terms of how we signpost students to get the help that they need. And I think it's a work in progress. The thing is, this uni is also very big. There's a lot of working committees, a lot of different things taking place at the same time. So I believe for officers, this is a wake-up call to us to signpost better and talk to students better in terms of like letting them know where they can get their support. Thanks.
That's great, thank you.
Another point I wanted to add, I cannot type because in the sense there's a word limitation. Yeah, so the other one is like how many of the instances with international students, especially when it comes to PGR level, it gets very complicated. And the issues also with funding, housing, and if you have a family or something, you're not going to get both of those stuff. Those things complicate things, and it has always been aware for the university itself, but then it was never addressed, and now there are more people who are coming in and they're suffering, especially with the aggravated housing crisis and also the inflation and so on and so forth. So these things have to be also kind of addressed, but I couldn't put it right there. So yeah, that's that. Thank you.
That's great, thank you. There's one at the back and one towards the back of the room.
Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of time, but if you both say yours quickly, I think we could do two.
I'd actually love to add on to the point about signposting, because I'm quite an avid member of NUSU and societies and things, and I assume if you're here, you probably are as well, but I feel like the large majority of students actually aren't involved in things like society, even though it might seem like quite a few people are. The large majority of the student body actually isn't involved in much to do with NUSU itself, so signposting is definitely really important, and just outreach in general, awareness.
I think that ultimately comes down to having a good relationship as a union with the university so that we're able to tell them the information that we want them to pass on.
Yeah, mine's literally echoing that. I was thinking out of a uni of 28,000 people, why am I struggling to get 8 people on a committee? I just think there's massive participation issues, and also I think if those were fixed, by now in the student union we would have quite a clear stance on the genocide going on in Palestine. So many other things would have like a quicker answer to from the student body if there was more people involved. But I just think it's really sad how there's like a lack of advertisement, I would say, because I don't think it's a lack of interest. I think it's lack of advertisement. Like I've had people saying like, oh, can I even go to the student council? It's just like, that's like worrying. But yeah, that's it.
Just want to say along the lines of that, if you do have any ideas of how you'd like to see things advertised, please do come to us and tell us, because we always have the thing where we're being like, oh, how do we advertise council? And then we put an Instagram post and it gets 7 likes. Right, last one.
I have a good idea how to advertise council.
Sorry.
Just
I don't want to get everyone off track. Keep thinking about your problems, please.
just quickly, as a chair, I'm impartial, but just completely informed, based on information. I'm in the process of writing a motion to probably come to next council about extending NUSU's reach into like the Helix, like business school and school computing and that sort of thing. So watch that space. Over to you, Alex.
Thank you for stalling. I was trying to turn my laptop on. Right, well, we got great engagement with that. Hope that continues. So, as we've now asked you all of these questions, asked you what could be improved. So, now it's time to start fantasizing, start getting a little bit creative. So, what would being a student be like in your ideal world? So, based off of some of the prompts that we've had so far, I'm gonna say an example. My like ideal scenario, right? I've got a house with double glazed windows. I've got an electricity bill that is not over £100. The academic quality of teaching is great. I walk into a seminar and I'm completely satisfied with what I'm listening and what I'm saying. Mental health support at the university, great. They've resolved all of my problems. You know, I never even have one anxious thought anymore. I'm completely fine. Cost of living, not a thing that I've heard of. And accessibility, everything's perfect. Everyone can go everywhere. You can use the lift after 5 p.m. So that's just some ideas from me.
Yeah, so what NUS are kind of asking is, like, in your utopia, what would being a student look like? Is it everything's a free ride? Is it...
No student loans.
Teaching over research? Is it, if you could mould the world, it's your world, you could do whatever you want with it, what would be your utopia of being a student? Doesn't matter how crazy it sounds, this is very much kind of big thinking. They want just kind of like long-term, like shoot for the stars ideas that could hopefully inform kind of in the now and then kind of actions that potentially get to it. So it's if any kind of crazy ideas of what you think education at a university could look like in like your kind of ideal world, that's what they're looking for. So yeah, just go wild.
I've got any wild ideas. I would like to ask for a petting zoo for mental health reasons, because I think that petting dogs makes you happier.
And feel free to repeat stuff that Alex has said if you want to submit it onto the board as well.
Yes, please repeat what I've said. Let's get a petting zoo in this place. Come to the farms. Oh, honestly, I'd love to. Right, anyone got any wild ideas?
Was there a hand from NUTV
Oh,
over there?
lovely, go.
Actually reaching supervisor during term 3. Yeah.
Reaching your supervisor, having the library be open when you need to study and when it's the holiday period.
Maybe this is completely insane, but I'd like to see the Herschel Building penthouse become a bookable space outside of hours. So, because it's like a designated space for math students, but I think that's until 6. Up there should be available for use for people who aren't math students, or like for societies, because it's a fantastic space for events outside of hours. Whether that happens, I have no idea.
I would love some more space for societies. If the university could just give us all of the buildings. Anybody else want to share? Oh, you've spoken enough.
In an ideal utopia, nobody is rejected from the university therapy service.
Imagine being rejected from therapy. God. can we ask for more? I mean, I think well, okay. Sophie, more elaboration.
Sometimes when you apply for the therapy service, they just say, that problem's too big, we don't want to deal with it. Bye.
So kind of provision, bigger provision.
Yeah. More support for people who are asking for help, and, you know, something better than an email that just says, we don't want to deal with this problem right now. Deal with it on your own, thanks.
And an expansion of
qualified.
on-campus ADHD and autism diagnoses, because they've been paused at the moment, so expansion of those.
A campus bus between this campus and the Helix campus.
It's not that far. Think about the environmental impact.
I've just put it on actually, but I was gonna say like fairly paid staff who have enough time and resources to do their jobs properly. This is like specifically with academic staff, but just better resources and support for staff in general so they can support us better.
Let me hear it from those of us who graduated without having done a single class in the last semester. Woo! Anybody else? Come on, guys, your ideas aren't creative enough. Where's the...
I want to feel safe coming onto campus. I think as a woman as well, and all the work we've been doing with the university about tackling sexual violence and hate crime as well, I think it should be a huge priority to feel safe on campus. Yeah, that's it.
Oh God, the whole group. Right, I saw your hand first.
More financial aid for working class students, because a bursary of 2,000 grand and the cost of living crisis frankly isn't enough, and also for issues of classism to be raised on campus.
Probably, I know Northumbria has a free bus between Heaton and their campus, so I'd say probably free travel between the main student areas, so Jesmond, Heaton, and the campus, because it's expensive. I know £2 a day doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're spending that every single day, it does get a lot. And also for the bus to not be an hour late. I was late because I'm in my pajamas because it was an hour late. So anyway, sorry.
I think that one's a actual council problem.
Pretty optimistic, but it would be pretty nice for other men to take on board gendered violence. I think, it's not something that just some men should do. I think it should be pretty widely accepted.
Oh yeah, you know, if the sports clubs can get free buses to Cochrane Park, why can't we?
That's not Kimiko's fault.
Yeah, Kimiko, answer the question.
They took so long to even set the bus up this year.
Anybody else? This side's awfully quiet. Come on, guys, do you not have opinions? Dream world, dream university.
Student radio, have you got a frequency?
Do you mean having student radio on FM AM?
Or on DAB? DAB would be adequate as well.
Do you want to know a fun fact? Actually, no, this is a good fun fact actually. Sorry, slight digress, but just to answer this question, we've actually received some funding to upgrade the NSR studio, which includes things like a new mixing desk. So hopefully that will become a bit more accessible and a bit easier to use. So keep your eyes peeled.
Guys, I'm really, really sorry. Can we keep things like that for student notices at the end? There will be student notices. I just want to keep the debate moving.
Okay, I want the getting my mark back on time.
Yeah. I think that's another strike issue. You know, yeah, if staff were paid enough, they would just do their job. I am looking out for hands. Anyone else? Any takers? Oh.
More student jobs on campus for students.
What would be your ideal student job?
Librarian.
Librarian. What if we had a cafe in the... Oh, we do have a cafe in the library. Having more libraries, more cafes, and more students working them.
There's one at the back over here, Alex.
Sorry, guys, I haven't got my glasses on.
I'd love more food options on campus, especially because I think downstairs at NUSU, a lot of them are quite similar, which I actually love that kind of cuisine, but I think a diversified range of of food options would be really good.
Talking about diverse food options, I've got my eye on you.
Well, I coordinate a plant-based universities campaign, which is a national campaign. It's active in over 70 universities in the UK and abroad now. It's in the ideal Newcastle University, it would be 100% plant-based. It's passed in 7 universities so far for environmental and ethical reasons. And it also means that all food is kosher and halal and lactose-free, which is good for a lot of other people.
Alex, I'm really sorry. In the spirit of time, can we just sort of wrap up this one?
Last answer, if anybody has one. Are you raising your hand? No, you're not. Okay. Anyone else? Last remark. Want to wrap this up? I'll take that as a no. Wonderful. So, we've had your answers about the ideal world. Nobody asked for free laptops. I thought that would be a thing. I was like placing bets. Okay, sorry about that. So, how do you imagine that the National Union of Students would get to that vision? So what would they do? I'm going to use Ella's example because that was an easy one. So if we want unis to be 100% plant-based... Oh, lovely. So there is... Right, perfect problem solution example. We want plant-based universities. We submit a motion to get it. So that's like a process that kind of makes that similar. So do you have any other ideas of how we could get to doing those things that you want in the ideal university?
Really
Placing
shoot
more
for the
lifts
stars,
in the
guys.
building.
That would be nice, yeah. The working lifts.
Any other? We need to raise it higher. I can't see.
I think a good start would probably be like for universities to be more like student orientated. And I know obviously that sounds like kind of silly, but it does seem like a lot of the times, even though they're like, yeah, we're all about students, they're more worried about like behind the scenes and like how the university looks in real life as opposed to like what the actual students do and think and feel about, you know?
All of the times I did feel like a lot of the university, because obviously a lot of lecturers' jobs is research, and you start to realize it the longer you're a student. You're like, this is more about research than it is about me being taught.
Guys, if you want to say something, put your hand up really nice and high and keep it there, just so we don't miss anyone.
Yes, because I can't see very well.
So one more stuff is like speaking about research, like generally they have to make up the mind whether PhDs are either staff or student. I mean, it's already confusing for postdocs. We also inherited the problem, and it's quite bad in the sense it kind of like perpetuates every single aspect of life, and we're not distinguished between anything and paid obsessively low. And this has been also brought up to the NUS before to identify is that stuff, as because many of the European countries do, most of the Scandinavian countries and every other stuff. So yeah.
I mean, if you're teaching, you should be getting paid a staff wage. Did you?
So just with like all these comments they're saying, I think with this section, it's NUS are kind of asking, what do you think needs to change? Not just maybe in a university sense, but across the country to make it so all those things that you've typed up actually happen. So obviously we're all aware there's potential for a general election coming up, so a lot of this work will inform NUS's manifesto to take to political parties to say this should be fact, not fiction. So it's like, so with, so like student focus, does there need to be a law passed through government that makes universities put students first? Like, does that actually have to be on a risk register? Like, it's those sort of things, like what needs to change in this country at any level to make these things become a reality? Like, does there need to be a law of determining PG pay? Does that need to actually be accounted for in a specific law? So it's like asking those sort of questions if anyone has those sort of kind of ideas.
And guys, bear in mind as well that NUS is your voice generally as well as in education. So if you guys have points to make to the government, this is the best way to do it, regardless of whether it's education focused or not.
Sorry, quick another point was there should be a general landscape change with how international students' freedom works, in the sense if you're a national student, you can take a holiday and go in, but you cannot do that as an international student because there is a home office rule that how many days you can be away, and the holidays don't roll over even if you save up your holidays, so on and so forth, and that is usually ignored, saying that it's a national law, so that has to be also addressed. And this one also comes into the aspect of freedom of movement, so if there's a conference or something, usually I just say like, you should inform me 6 months in advance. I cannot be like, oh, be tomorrow in France. That is not, international students won't happen. So yeah.
One thing I was going to say was like lobbying NUS to, I guess, go to the government and actually say like, with like the Renters Reform Bill and housing, and actually recognising that Renters Reform Bill actually does really affect students, not just the local like council and the like public. It does really impact students, and just lobbying the government to actually think about students when they're going for all these readings in Parliament and all about like the Renters Reform Bill and housing in general.
I can see a lot of people very sheepishly putting your hands up. Just put them all the way up. We can see you. Just.
I was just going to say, so I mentioned public transport with mine and how I think that it's still quite expensive, even though I know the local mayor has done quite a lot to bring the price of public transport down. I would say, so I know in the Netherlands, students get, they can either get the 5 days of the week free public transport, that's any public transport for free, or they get the weekend for free. And that's just the whole time that you're a student. I think that's something that we should have. I know in Scotland, they have the Young Scot bus pass, so they get buses for free. I think if the Scottish government can do that and they have more fiscal constraints than the national government does, then the national government should definitely be able to do that. I was also going to mention earlier about, I really struggled with classism when I first came to university. I think a lot of that was because there's just such an overrepresentation of private schools. So I, like, a bit radical, but I would probably say maybe not cap them at 7%, but I think there should be a bit more of a proportional cap on the amount of students that are admitted from private schools, because it is actually ridiculous. I think this is anecdotal, but I've been told that over 50% of the students on the medical course are from private schools, which is just completely unrepresentative to the wider country, where only 7% of the students, are from private schools. So I'd say, a bit more, not restrictions, but a bit more make the universities look more like the national country. So yeah, thank you.
We need to find a way to reduce those student loans.
I think there should be more of an emphasis on working class people going to uni. I think there was like in early 2000s, and it's just kind of dipped off a bit now. And I think that would include like looking at student unions, look at who's running for certain positions, look at who's partaking in things, and it goes down to like the presidents of societies, who is actually working class and who's not, and why aren't student unions across the country trying to help skill up working class people? Like, the space is not designed for working class people. It's only recently that working class people have penetrated that, so it's disheartening that like all of these efforts have just kind of died down, and it's just kind of normalized that working class people go to uni when in reality it's not the same.
Can I ask how you would change that? In your ideal world, how would you fix that problem?
Funding for a start, I mean, and then it's like mainly education.
The government doing more at a younger age to fix the attainment gap?
Yeah, but I think it goes on both sides. I think it's governmental and university. Like, the university should be doing education on it, but then the government should as well. Like, I think also biases. Like, I'm very aware I've got a strong southern accent, but by no means am I a middle class person. So I think a lot of it is educational, but then also removing physical barriers of financial things, and just general attitudes. Yeah. Oh, sorry.
I think one way that we can deal with that here at the uni is creating a class liberation officer of someone who's a working class student or comes from a low income background. That way working class student voices can be raised for here within the uni, and then we can have issues that are then passed to the SU and then go towards the university.
I think, I was going to say it's quite radical. It's really not. As someone from Scotland, abolishing tuition fees is possible. We have done it where I'm from, and we can do it. And I think that stemming from the points about making it more accessible for working class people, there'd be less fear-mongering around things like student debt if we simply didn't charge people £30,000 to get a degree, minimum.
affordable and standardized pricing on public transport and like national rail services. Like, why does the same train cost twice as much when they're 30 minutes apart? And stop TransPennine being cancelled.
Sorry, Alex. This lovely person here, and you were waiting for a while. Did you still want to speak? No. Okay. Cool.
I'd love to hear anyone's opinion afterwards as well, if you think there's something similar going on in the industry that you want to work in. But recently, it's become aware to me, I've got lots of students in undergraduate who are wanting to get placements in the agriculture industry, who may not be from an agricultural background. And Newcastle has one of the biggest agricultural departments in the UK, and we're in third at the moment, which is amazing. But a lot of the big agricultural companies, or even chemical companies or food production companies, won't actually hire students from Newcastle, despite being in third. And I think something I'd like NUS to consider is, why do certain companies only hire, or why will they only hire from certain universities? A lot of them are historical. They have managers or CEOs that were from that university and are biased towards hiring from there. Newcastle has moved up in the ranks, and I feel like we're the only ones on the list that are missed out. So if anybody else feels like there's something in their industry are also exclusively hiring from certain universities, I'd love to hear about it. But it's something really prominent in agriculture where we cannot get places in big chemical companies. However, if you're a chemistry student, you can still go and work for the same company, but they won't hire from agriculture. So just a really sort of random point there. Moving on from, only hiring from working classes, similar in agriculture as well, they're very specific.
There was a really good piece in The Guardian a couple of weeks ago about that exact thing. It was specifically talking about discrimination against non-Russell Group universities, but it covered a lot of very similar topics.
This covers things that have already been said this side in terms of the working class and like funding there. I'm also from Scotland, so my funding comes from SAS, and they're pretty good in terms of that. But I've heard for SFE, there's people who, because they come from, let's say they have two families, they have two parents in their family, they be given less funding, even though it doesn't take into account that they may have more siblings, or the parents still can't afford to pay for all their tuition and maintenance on top of that. So I feel like there needs to be a set criteria for what qualifies as needing funding.
Thanks. I don't know if Lulu wanted to go first then. So I also think NUS needs to recognise that being a student in the current climate looks a lot different to even 10 years ago, even 5 years ago. A lot of students now, it's something that me and Lulu have been working on with the cost of living PECs actually, and really trying to push is keeping those, because a lot of students have to work a lot more alongside their jobs. A commonly held attitude is that you work alongside your degree just for experience, whereas now people who work alongside their degree tend to have a part-time job to survive, just to support themselves, because maintenance loans haven't gone up with inflation, and as you brought up, often little nuances aren't taken into consideration when people's maintenance loans are decided by SFE. And it leaves people with a lot less time to focus on their studies than before. Even though they might really want to, and they might be high achievers and things like that, they can't dedicate the time that they want to because they simply have to survive. So it's just about changing the attitude around kind of cost of living and acknowledging what students have to do now just to survive, as opposed to being a student, we're spending a lot less money on things like alcohol and partying and nights out than even 4 or 5 years ago, and I think that's definitely something as well just to consider and think about.
Great. So if I could just say, can we make sure, any other points, if you just make sure that they're not sort of reiterations of previous points, just 'cause we're running out of time. So if you've got a brand new point, please make it, and I'm also going to start limiting responses to 1 minute. So if I gavel, please stop speaking.
So just quickly, Gabby, with that, do you think maybe a way to fix that issue? Do you think maybe a legal allowance for students to work that university must accommodate? So a legal right for students to work that universities have to work around, sort of thing. How could we change that to make it a thing that's around?
I think it comes more from like, it sounds really silly and weird, but just like educating, like somebody brought up earlier that a lot of lecturers or a lot of the people who run things in management are so out of touch with like students, they just don't want to listen. And I think it's like just really pushing it to them, like, hello, like the climate has changed, like for students now it's not all the same, like please stop expecting the same thing or the same amount of commitment or the same amount of time from students as previously, and maybe putting in a bit more help, especially when I was in first year. Like one of the first times I ever wrote an essay, I went to try and get help and they were like, oh, well, you should know. And I was like, well, I don't. Like, please, can I have help? And they didn't want to, and they just didn't want to listen. And they kind of assume, there's always these assumptions that we just know what we're doing. We know how much time we need to dedicate. Like, we should just know everything, and we don't. And I think sometimes it's just about telling them that and maybe finding a way to educate them. Somebody also previously brought up, like, funding in an ideal world, like, bringing in more funding and things, like increasing the maintenance loan, like lobbying for them to acknowledge those nuances would be great. But I know that's possibly a bit dream thinking.
One thing off the top of my head, like mandated training for any academic or lecturer in what the current yearly updating, which includes what's the current student landscape, like what are students going through, so that everyone is aware at the start of the year. That could be something that could be brought in that might help that situation.
Yeah, like even just giving them statistics and things. I think they leave lecturers kind of to their own kind of devices. They probably, I mean, I don't necessarily know, but I think if they had like at the start of the year, like these are statistics for like how many students are in part-time work now, you may want to think about that when you're making assignments or when you're giving them extra reading texts, or think about like the extra help you need to give them. I don't know if that makes sense, that's just me thinking on the spot. But it would definitely be helpful if they were given the resources and the statistics and the facts instead of maybe them just being out there and them having to find it, because they may just not think they need to.
I'm really keen that we hear some more voices, because I know there are a few more hands in here, guys. So can we just keep responses to 1 minute and not reiterating any points that have already gone before, please?
I think just in general there needs to be more conversations about sexual harassment and abuse on nights out at university. I know the majority of harassment that goes on is with university students, and that's not just first years as well. I know it's quite overwhelming when 18-year-olds come to university, they've never experienced going out before, and they get thrown into it. They're over-drinking a lot, and then a lot of the times can put themselves in a lot of vulnerable situations. So there needs to be some mandatory workshops or training that goes in place, and I know a lot of it is centered around male sports clubs and societies, so something really needs to be put in place surrounding consent workshops, perhaps, because I know the University of Nottingham implemented something a couple of years ago that every male sports society has compulsory consent training. So they're sat in little groups and then members come in and speak to them. It's just something to think about, because I think it's a big, big issue. Not just at Newcastle, because I know it's an issue in Newcastle, but in every university within the UK.
Thanks. So anyone else got any pressing points? Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, if like there was more opportunities to do like extra modules. For example, I know the School of Languages, if you want to, you can take up a language on top of your course, I think on every Wednesday or something like that. So if there's any other opportunities, because I know it's quite hard when you get to uni, maybe you find out you don't really like what you're doing. It's very hard to then swap and go to like say another school or another kind of like area of expertise. So like just even small classes here and there to just kind of help build, especially because like even terms of getting placements and like just work experience is really difficult right now.
Thank you so much.
I know in the University of Cambridge, they have this thing where if you're a student, you can go to any class. Like, you don't have to be enrolled. You can just go and sit in the class. You don't have to take the module. You don't have to do assignments. You can just go and sit and just absorb education.
Okay, so just quickly, so just because we're running out of time, we'll go with yourself, then Leo, then the lovely person at the back, and then we'll call it, if that's okay.
I just think, especially when it comes to terms of university, especially cost of living crisis, there needs to be a consideration on the impact that it has on marginalised students, particularly trans students, because as a trans person, I've often had to balance trying to get my hormone treatment and gender affirming care while also dealing with the stress of university, and I feel like sometimes that's not accommodated for. Like, I've had to submit evidence on my PECs when they've wanted it back of the issues that I have had of side effects from hormones or just other stuff with my transition, and we make up less than 1% of the population. And I also feel like there needs to be a way that, yeah, there just needs to be an acknowledgement and also more accommodation towards trans and gender marginalized students in a way in which the experiences, sure, people talk about having wanted to get rid of trans people, but people don't seem to accommodate the issues that trans students face when it comes to on top of university stress.
It's a really important point.
Yeah. I feel like if any student has an issue, there should be consideration for them. Like, you wouldn't have to go through all the hoops that you have to go to just to get the basic care.
You wouldn't happen to be interested in being the marginalised genders officer, would you? No.
Why not? Why not?
Go for it. Just asking.
So I just want to quick follow up. Louis mentioned that in related the working class students. Currently, I chair the group called Accessible and Participation Plan. There is the student collective group. Then we just want to get idea from students how we help these group students can exercise university continue attainment and process in Newcastle University. So currently the university very value this plan because it's from the office for students. They ask university should do, they identify the risk, how we can help these group students. So if anyone you have some idea related to this, just feel free to join me line or just come to my office, talk with me. I think I want to bring this idea or maybe how we can help this group students putting in the bring to university meeting to tell them. And also like related to the trans student
we're
for PAC.
really short on time.
Okay, really quick. About PAC, can you send John Milan? Thank you.
We will
So
have
we'll
points
go
of
to-
information at the end.
We'll go to Leo and then the person behind the camera and then that's it.
For the SABs, we'll have points of information at the end so you can just tell people.
I'm going to make this really quick because I have so many thoughts on it that there's no way I can fit it into an hour, much less a minute. But everybody should be able to access university regardless of their disability, regardless of what their disability looks like, and regardless of how complex their access needs are. Because you can't say that like university is equitable and still not have it accessible to people with all disabilities of all levels of support needs.
Okay, thank you, Leo. And then it's just the person behind the camera and then we'll finish there.
Just really quick again, because I can't fit this into a minute either. In terms of like actual working class people getting to university, obviously Newcastle has the partner scheme, which is like the only thing that they do. But I think generally raising awareness of the partner scheme, getting more local schools actually advertise this partner scheme, letting people know that they have access to university at all, because a lot of working class people don't even really know what university is. You're never told, you're not expected to know. And also just expanding the funding for partners and lowering the amount of boxes that you have to check. Because, you know, you can't just get in if you're poor. You have to also be disabled, or you also have to be in a terrible postcode. And it's quite a humiliating process to tick, oh, here's all my poor points. I want to be in a university. Let me in, please. Just more like concentration on how the partner scheme works, expanding it a lot, and, you know, not having to make people beg on their knees to be let in, because that is how a lot of these schemes do feel. You can, you know, advertise
Sorry, that's
them,
your
but
minute. Sorry. Right, Alex, could you bring it to a close in like the next couple of minutes, if that's okay? Sorry.
Yes, I can, I think. Would somebody like to talk while I do this? Oh, right.
Thank you for being so patient, everyone. And I am sorry for
Thank you
interrupting.
so much for
It feels very rude.
participating.
Okay.
I've had some really lovely well, so I hate that. So just a summary of what we've said overall. Main issues, God wish I could summarize them. Housing, cost of living, accessibility, inclusion of all students from all backgrounds, including international students, PGR students, making sure that university is fit and adapted to all students, no matter what their needs are, making sure that we're listening to students and covering their needs. And
the Tories.
You're not allowed to say that.
It was on the board.
But you know what? We are listening to students. Say what you want. Say what you need. Right. But yes, I think that is as best a summary as I can get into without delving into like 10 different, external bubbles. So thank you all for coming. Thank you all for telling us every single opinion you've had, even though we could have probably heard more from you. And we still can. If you email any of us and just, write your little rant, tell us everything that is wrong with your university experience, and we will try to fix it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming. This was the big conversation brought to an end.
Thank you. So just really quickly, we've got student notices, so that's the last thing on the order paper. So if anybody has anything pressing, Alex, you are allowed to sit back down, by the way. You do not have to stay there. Unless you have it. You're allowed to sit down.
Oh.
You don't.
Am I? What if I want to say some? What if I have a student notice?
If you have a student notice, you can stay for a student notice.
I am not a student, but I do have a notice. On the 7th of December, which is the date of the next council, we will be doing a Hanukkah event for the Festival of Culture. It is our big event to start it off, and it might overlap with council a little bit, but when council ends, you're all free to go to light the menorah and eat some kosher snacks.
Fantastic, thank you. Any other student notices? So Leo, have we got NSR? Have you got your mic you can bring down, please?
Hello, yes, this does work. You've probably already heard about this because I've been promoting this very aggressively, but next week on Thursday on the 23rd, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m., I'm running a disability awareness workshop with DManSoc. All the information's on our Instagram, where you can also come speak to me about it afterwards. That's the correct grammar. Yes. Please come. We're putting quite a lot of work into this, and it's a good way to learn more about disability, what you can do to support the disability community, and specifically the disability community in Newcastle.
Thanks so much. I guess you can just pass that back. Yeah, please come to the front. Yeah, that's fantastic.
Hello, it's the farm lady again. So, on the 30th of November, this is a bit of advertisement. It is indeed Spudfest. We're doing it again. If some of you saw the random event that took place last year in December in the Boiler House, it's happening again. It's going to be bigger. It's going to be better. If anyone remembers anyone dressed as a potato, yes. That was me, and I'm not doing it again. So 10 till 2, 30th November in the Boiler House. There are going to be free potatoes of many kinds. Like, I'm talking like 230 different types of potato. We've got free food. We've also got free leafy greens that have been grown in the vertical farm in the basement of the agriculture building. So please come and grab those. And there'll also be some talks, people like me, about what they're doing and some of the cool research going on in the farms and stuff like that.
Thank you so much. That's great. And Chirag, you're at the back. Louis, is it? Sorry. Yeah, Louis. And then we'll close.
Postgraduate bursary would be released. We are happy to say that we secured funding, and if you have already established interest, please look out for your email.
Great, thank you. Louis, do you want to maybe come to the front if that's okay, and then we'll finish? Is it absolutely pressing?
I mean, not really, it's just plumbers unis, come talk to me.
If you can fit it inside 15 seconds, then you can do it, okay? But we'll let you go first.
Next Thursday on the 23rd at around 7 o'clock at the Holy Hobo, Amnesty is doing a fundraiser for medical aid for Palestine. There's raffles, what else is there? Selling baklava. We're collabing with Labour Society and FemSoc. Come down, it's £2 entry. But yeah, it'd be lovely to see some faces. And if any of you are in societies, please spread the word. But yeah, it's charity, not political, so Sabs, you can come as well. Please come.
Thank you, Lou. Go ahead.
Just plumbers uni stuff. If you've got any questions or queries, ask me now, or you can email me through like the Extinction Rebellion stuff.
Cool. Thank you so much. Right, guys, so thank you so much. It's been an excellent council. You guys really participated really well, so thanks. If you have any questions, please do catch us after council. Connor has free drinks tokens for Luther's Bar. Please get one there, one each, and that will bring November Council to a close. Thank you very much.